And so today I thought we did our kind of wash exercises last week. And oh my gosh. And so today I thought we would work on painting a wash, but doing a sky with it. So we'd actually create something. I practice skies all the time. So I think it's I know a lot of you guys have done this exercise before, but it's something I do quite a bit. And I always end up turning, I'll show you guys one. I always end up turning, I don't know, can you guys see that all right? If not, I'll just pass it around. But I always end up turning those sort of practice things into some sort of a landscape. That's not as clear as I'd like it, so I'm just going to pass it around. So that started off just as a sky. Normally I don't paint skies first. I generally paint a sky last, but in this case, I was just practicing the wow, that's
why did you paint the sky last?
Partially because I don't want the sky to dictate how my painting, the feeling of my painting. So if I have a tendency to skew my skies towards kind of stormy skies, but I paint a lot of really bright, kind of, I don't want the sky to dictate necessarily how the the sort of feeling and what's the word I'm looking for?
Is this something you saw?
No. I took the I'll show you guys. Well, yes and no. I shouldn't say no. That's burnt sienna. I probably won't use that today. I can't get it open.
Michael,
yeah.
The reason why you're having a hard time with this one side, it's twisted.
Oh.
The other side.
Thank you. I'm like, why does this keep popping up on me? Yeah. So annoying. I was like, oh, I was like, really ticked off about it. Oh, so what it is I've taken things that I've seen. So I've seen that, that kind of low bluff or low mountainish shape. And I've seen dirt roads like that. And so I've taken that conglomeration of different locations that I've seen, and I've combined things to make that, which generally a lot of my paintings are. Most of the time when we're working in this class, we're going to work from just one photo, that we kind of deal with because that can get a little confusing. But in this case, we're just going to worry about the sky, and then later on we can go back in if we have time. I'm running so late today. Hopefully we do. We can talk about putting some sort of foreground thing. I didn't bring it with me, but there was another sky I did, and actually I did it in class. And for some reason it felt kind of like the Bahamas or Hawaii or, some sort of island kind of thing. And I ended up taking some ideas I'd seen, some photos I'd seen of a kind of an island with a boat moored in a little kind of lagoon almost thing. And I did the painting. It's a completely kind of made up place. I mean, it's a combination of, I found the sailboat somewhere, and then I found this kind of island shape somewhere. And so I took I took that sky. I just had that kind of ocean feeling, and I thought, okay, well, that's what this is going to be. so it allows you to kind of do a sky and then think, okay, well, now what can I, normally I work the other way, like I've said. But it's because I planned out the subject matter ahead of time. In this case, I just want to concentrate on the sky. The sky is really the interesting thing to me. In other paintings, the sky is just a secondary thing to kind of ground things. So it's not as important. So it comes last because then I can kind of make it match the rest of the painting.
So this one isn't a daytime. What would you do differently if it were night, if it were evening time or nighttime?
That's a good question. You do have good questions. Oh yeah. You've taken
lots of sky pictures.
Yeah.
Sky.
It would be very similar, but all the colors would be much more muted. So I might even start out, if I could change this to a night image simply by putting some light washes of blue over everything. And that would change this to an evening or night scene where the moon is casting these shadows. And that's really the difference. I would just mute everything down. I probably paint it the exact same way I painted this one. But then I would mute everything down with a wash on top of it. And that would be, it kind of acts, when you watch those old movies where they obviously shot the scene during the day, but then they have some sort of filter over the camera, and it makes it feel like it's nighttime.
So one was the other day.
So yeah, it's kind of like that. You could kind of tell, oh, that was shot probably at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but they put a filter on it, and so that kind of acts as that filter. So I could take wow, some of these got broken up in the interim where I didn't use them. I could take royal blue. I might start with, well, actually I might do a wash of royal blue over that, and just a really thin watery wash. So whatever, if you've got a darker blue, it could be like an ultramarine blue or an Antwerp blue. That would be a good one, or Prussian blue. Why can't I think of? You guys all got an email saying class was on, right?
Yes.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't,
Oh, well.
but I followed by.
Oh, okay. I wonder if Connie. Wait, no. Who am I thinking of?
I kept looking all day.
What's her name? Why did I just forget it? That was sitting next to you last week?
You would have to ask me that one.
I'm sorry. It takes me a minute to learn everybody's name. Huh. Well, it doesn't matter. I wonder if she got a call. I'll make sure. I'll double check and make sure so she knows that we have a class. Okay, what was I talking about?
Skies.
Skies.
Yeah, skies.
You're like, thanks, that's real helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
We had Sunday, we went on a 4-wheel ATV ride up in the canyons.
Oh yeah, but that was fun.
Beautiful red, purple sky
Oh yeah.
with some yellow and orange coming through. I mean, it was spectacular. And neither one of us had
cameras.
had our phones.
Didn't, oh, yeah,
So
wow.
We're like, come on, give me your phone, because you have enough cloud features. You still gave it to me.
Um,
Well, I think we should.
I probably have enough cloud and sky photos myself, but I still always stop, especially on my drive back from Gallup, if it's particularly, sometimes I post those on Facebook, and then sometimes I just keep, oh, wow, look at that.
That's our barn.
Yeah,
That's the cloud we should do.
that is pretty amazing.
Hey, can you see it?
Can
Not
you?
very good. But it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Okay. Got enough water? Yeah. So I spend a lot of time, and I recommend doing this. I spend a lot of time looking at the sky. Boy, that got wet. That was last week's thing. I put this in. Of course, here in the next couple of weeks, I'll probably have to change my password for the college because I've had it for too long. Okay, see that? Yeah. Hopefully this is, if you end up not being able to see, you're welcome to come up here and watch. But I thought this might be easier for everybody. Let's see. Let's move this over there so I have room for. I need to wash these. I should just wash these out. It wasn't fairly clean. It doesn't look like it, but it is. Okay. That's pretty clean. That's okay. Brushes, that's what I need. Water. Brushes. Great. Okay, so those over there. Yeah, I really need to get here at like 5:30, maybe even 5. That may be my new goal on Thursdays, get here at 5, because that took too long. All right, so when painting skies, now I have this kind of in the middle of my board. It doesn't really matter. I generally paint skies upside down to begin with. I know I've talked about that before, mostly because it keeps everything away from, it keeps water and paint from flowing over whatever I've already painted. So if let's say I had painted this bit first, I would then flip this over and get all of this wet and then start working on the sky. In our case, it doesn't really matter, except I'm going to still work kind of upside down because I want to kind of keep this clean up here. I don't know what I'm going to do with this bottom part yet. What I'm going to do though, to kind of make this easier on myself, I'm going to draw just a really thin, light pencil line about 1/3 of the way down. So I know that somewhere in there is where I'll stop my it's still warm. It's just me though. I know it's not warm in here. I know it's actually quite comfortable.
If you're doing upside down like that,
Let me help you.
and you use about a third of that, are you always going to use a third for the top?
No, this is only because my sky is what's gonna be more, I feel like a pharaoh. Um, um, in this case, the sky, right? In this case, the sky is what's more important than anything else. This is the subject that we're painting. So in this case, it would be 2/3 or so of the paint. I mean, it could be even a little more, but I'm going to give myself about 2/3. Now, it could end up that I paint. It could end up that I paint. I don't know if you can see that line up there, but it could end up that I do something like what I did here, where I pull this up. This, the sky was painted actually all the way down to about where those trees are. I kind of painted around where I thought maybe some trees would be. So I didn't paint all of it, but they were kind of painted, it was kind of painted down in there really lightly. And actually, this may not be the best example. I probably actually only painted the sky to about there, and then I went back in and lift. Sorry, you can't see that.
Are you good?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Here's what I'll do. I'll put it up here. So I probably, this is really, I forget that I have this technology. I really probably only painted the sky to about there where my finger is. And then I came in later and worked it in after I decided I wanted to do something there. I have other ones where like the one I was talking about where it's an ocean, island kind of thing, where, I mean, it was vertical as well. It was this, it was a portrait, but I ended up painting almost all the way down to the bottom of the page. So there was maybe like 1/8 of the page left. And then I went back in because most of the stuff in front of the sky was darker. And so that's kind of think about that. Oh, well, I may end up putting some sort of, thing that's dark. So I'm just kind of picking, I kind of randomly pick about 1/3. That actually may even be closer to 1/4. Well, it's not quite, but it's roughly 1/3 or so of the page. It's just because the sky is what we're going to concentrate on. If it's something else where we're painting a landscape, whether it's a landscape or a building or something, the sky may only be like a little tiny portion of the whole painting. And so I don't deal, that's another reason I paint it last, because if the sky is just like a little tiny bit of the whole, then I don't have to, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. And I have a tendency to spend a lot of time on skies if I paint them first. If you look at a lot of my early work, I put a lot of time in the skies, and then I was like, oh, well, that's sort of drawing your attention away from what's really important. So the only time I do this is when I'm just painting, that's the focus. I'm going to do, I'll end up doing something probably very similar to this. When
in that picture right there, where's the attention going? What do you think the attention?
Well, so in my mind, it kind of comes in like this and then pulls you up into here. That's this road kind of leads you through and up into here. That's where I want you to look at. I want you to look at those clouds.
I don't notice the road, but I notice the sky.
Yeah, this is like a secondary kind of thing. It's not very important. The sky is really what you're drawn to, and that's really what I want people to pay attention to. So, without further ado, I got a little drop of red. Apparently, I hadn't cleaned this brush out very well. So I'm just going to put water over this whole thing, and if I use this 1-inch brush. If I'm doing a larger painting, this is a good spot to use my 2-inch brush.
Use a brush?
A 2-inch brush, this wider one. A lot of times this one only gets used when I'm painting really large paintings and I'm just painting the sky. I use it to put water on.
What paint are we using?
We'll start with blues. So peacock blue or something close to that. Cobalt blue. What is it?
Put a lot of water, or you just put a little bit of water?
No, it's a fair amount. You're welcome to come up and look if you want. It's you know, if I put it on there, you can see it's dripping off. So it's a fair amount of water. I just dripped it.
Take a shower in this one.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Right.
put it and I'll put even a little bit more on there before I oops, let's get that kind of back in there. So I like it really wet because I'm going to use this patent pending toilet paper cloud maker that I've got here. Yeah. That's right.
So I went to the pharmacy right after, not too long after COVID. And I was waiting to be helped, and this man said, what did he say? You know why there's a shortage of toilet paper? And I'm like, no. He said, well, one person sneezed and everybody crept their pants. I was like, oh, well, that's not what he said, but.
Yeah, he said something slightly racier. So that's pretty wet. I mean, you can see I've got some nice puddles on there. Push that up and I even wet it a little further past where my line is. And I'm going to use a little peacock blue. I like to start with peacock blue. So I'm going to make a nice little, I'll bring this over here so you can see what I'm doing. I've got this peacock blue. Well, can't see it on the palette, but you can see, I'm just making a nice little puddle of peacock blue here. I probably could have done that first, but it doesn't matter. That's going to be the first kind of blue. Now, if you don't have peacock blue,
You using the same brush?
yeah, same brush. You could use cobalt blue, which is a nice bright blue. You could even use something like a royal blue or Antwerp blue or something that's a little darker. I just like to start with a little. I like to start with something brighter. Even ultramarine blue would be a good one. So if you don't have peacock, like a cobalt blue is really kind of a nice bright blue when you make this kind of watery wash. And so I'll do this and then we'll so you don't necessarily have to be doing this while I'm doing it, but you can just watch and then but if you've done this before, you know what I'm doing too. So so then I'm just going to start putting paint on my paper, and because I don't really have any idea where things are going to go, I'm just going to kind of get a little more water. I'm just going to kind of spread this blue across using my big brush across the paper. As I get up here, what I might do is just add a little more water. It's okay if it
Is there any wrong way to do this?
nope. That's the great thing about this technique. There's not really a wrong way to.
Whoever says, oh, that's interesting.
There
Right?
you go.
So I've got some nice paint on there. That does not look like peacock blue on the screen, does it?
No, it doesn't.
That looks like
I
a.
was thinking I had it wrong.
That looks like cobalt blue almost. All right, I'm just going to push some of this back up into here, and then what I'm going to do real quick is squeeze my brush out. I have a whole slew of paint that is running down here. So I'm just going to pick up some of this excess water before it becomes a problem. And I stick my hand in it. I can just wipe up a lot of this around here, but whoops. I'm just going to get some of this excess. So because this is so wet, I can kind of spend a little bit of time doing this. Look at that other. Oh, this one's too wet. I'll have to let that one dry out. I like that one better because that one doesn't have a pattern. This one has this ridged pattern. But this is almost out, so we'll just use this. Both of them are almost out. I've got another roll at the studio that I was going to bring with me, and I forgot. So I'm going to take this kind of, and if you need Kleenex, Kleenex works just the same, as long as it's not anything with lotion, which that does not have lotion. So you can use toilet paper, you can use Kleenex.
So you can't use lotion, huh?
Yeah, you don't want lotion in your Kleenex. Do you have lotion in your Kleenex? Oh, sorry. The reason is because the lotion, it's great on your nose, but it's not great on watercolor. So just take a whole slew of it. And,
All right, thanks.
yeah. And what you're going to do, what it does is it leaves a residue on the paper, and then you can't paint there. So what you're going to do is kind of make this kind of a shape. So it's kind of a cloud shape. What you don't want to do is take it and make a little tiny dot of a ball. You don't want to do this with it. So you want to take it and you want to kind of spread it out and make kind of a wide cloud-ish sort of shape. And then you're just going to randomly, where you feel like it, plop it down on the paper. So you don't want to blot it. You just want to kind of plop it down. And you can see I lifted a whole lot. And then I'm going to rotate my paper. And then I'm going to plop it down again. And maybe put a cloud there. And this is kind of why I don't like this particular brand of toilet paper that I'm using here. It was cheap, but I didn't realize there were lines in it. But that's all right. It won't be a big deal.
That's rain coming down.
Yeah. It's just got a texture that I don't really care for. And this roll that doesn't is it's all wet. What I may do is just grab a couple of Kleenex too. Yeah. So let's see if I can. Yeah, it's dried a little too much for me, but that's all right. So I've got some kind of interesting cloud shape, and what I'm doing is I'm rotating, and I'm not pushing used Kleenex or toilet paper back down because that'll push paint into your paper. So I'm kind of rotating it and finding a clean spot, and then I'll push it down again. If I don't like that shape, I can come in from a different angle and do something. I mean, I haven't really done anything special there. This sky isn't the best so far, but just because it's not the best to begin with doesn't mean it won't turn out to be decent later. So real quickly, I'm gonna sop up some of this extra water that I've got down here along the edge. I'm just gonna use my toilet paper blob here just to get a little extra up. You could use a thirsty brush like I did before. And I've started putting this towel here because I have a tendency to paint and it all drips into my lap. So that's what I've started using this towel for. Okay, so I have this, you can kind of see it. I've got these kind of interesting shapes. Interesting I might be running fast and loose with that word, but I have these lighter shapes on my paper. And I'm going to switch to, I could continue to use the flat brush, but I'm going to switch. It's a little easier with a round brush. So I'm going to switch to my number 8 round. And I'm going to still use that same blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now find some areas. Oops, that I did not get wet. There, I'm going to find some some areas. I'm going to continue with this blue. Remember to roll. Remember when you I'll come back over here. You know, you're mixing your paint and whatnot, and you're abusing your brush. You don't get a nice point. So remember to kind of roll that brush as you pick it up. So you have a nice.
Still doing the blue?
Yeah, still using the same blue. So I've got a nice bit of blue. And now I'm going to look at this and say, okay, what parts of these shapes do I like? What parts do I not like? And we're just going to deal with the top. So the closest bit to you right now. So I'm going to, I kind of like this shape here. It's a little hard to see up on the screen. I apologize for that, but I'm going to kind of come in and I'm now going to accentuate part of this shape. And you'll notice, like, even though this paper is pretty damp, it's not damp enough for the paint to go back into that lighter area. You've picked up enough moisture out of that to where, for the most part, where you can get a pretty sharp edge. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of this because I don't want to outline the whole cloud. We don't want, if we, we don't want a cloud where we do this kind of thing. We don't want a symbol for a cloud, because we can all paint clouds like that. I can paint those all day long. But that's not what we're going for here.
So we're going to outline it and then color it in.
Well, no, we're not really outlining. We're just painting like around, just so I'm gonna stop. So I've put this in here, this darker bit, and I pulled it away from the white. So I've made this whole section here darker. And then I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna leave that next little bulb right here that's lighter. I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not gonna put any more paint there right now, because I want a lost edge. If you look at clouds, you'll see sharp edges, and then you'll see edges that kind of blend into the sky behind it. And I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna go, okay, well, I'm gonna put a little bit here, maybe. And the cool thing about this is if at any point you feel like you've done something you don't like, you can undo it.
How do you undo it?
You lift it with your Kleenex again.
You cry over it and use the tears to.
You add more water and you add more water and
I might go for your grandkids.
she's pulling your leg there. So you could just see, I just picked some up where it was still wet. I just cleaned my brush out and I came in here and I just picked that bit up right there with my brush, right in here.
I'm so wet.
That's okay.
A surprise.
Nope.
That's how I rock and roll.
So then I'm going to come down in here. I want to add a little more, I think, over in here. This is so wet that may smooth out or fuse out into it, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. So then I'm just going to kind of think about, okay, I like that. And don't worry if you get streaks and stuff like this. This should be wet enough to where if you do get streaks, they'll kind of fuse, they'll kind of blend out by themselves. If they don't, we can go back in later. So you can see I'm just picking areas where I've added more paint to enhance that shape. And then I've got areas where I've left it alone so that the viewer can make up their mind that the cloud shape continues there. So it's called lost and found edges. Here I've got a shape that kind of fuses out into there. So I'm going to finish up a little bit here, and then I'll come look at everybody's and we'll talk about that. Yours is extra interesting.
I am just a brat today. My husband said, "Oh, you are on one." And my response was, "Well." I was.
So yeah, so you can see I've kind of left some areas. Maybe I feel like this is a little too sharp, this edge right here next to where it's coming off towards the edge of the paper. So I want to soften that over here maybe a little bit. I want that edge to be kind of soft as it gets close to the edge, because maybe that needs to be softened a bit too. Maybe I've got too much there. So just kind of coming in, softening some of this. I can add more paint, but it'll still be a soft edge simply by adding a little more water and letting it run down in there. Maybe I soften that edge. Maybe that needs to be softened a little bit. There we go. I don't know that I like that shape, so I'm just going to kind of fix it a little bit. And then if I don't like it still, I can wait till it dries and I can lift parts out and I can massage it. I can even come back in with a little more of my Kleenex and use some clean areas to kind of pick up some yeah. I felt like I got that a little too sharp on the edge there, so let's soften that a little bit. So when you get to a certain point, it should look, something like this. Obviously, it's going to look different because we're all, none of us are going to have the same exact painting, because that's the beauty of watercolor. It's all, in oil or acrylic, you can match a person's, technique stroke for stroke, and you can actually paint a copy of someone's work. In watercolor, it is impossible to do that. So, but you should have something that's somewhat resembles, something like this. And yeah, just make sure you've got little areas where you've softened it back out so it's not completely. You can see I have some sharp edges and then I have some really soft edges. Sharp edges, a really soft edge. Really soft edge over here. You don't need to start over. Just because it doesn't look good right now doesn't mean it won't later.
Well, it kind of does sometimes.
Yeah, so what you could do now is add a little more water to some spots here. Yeah, here I'll show you. That was pretty close, but like you can come in and just soften some of that line. Just soften it up like that, and then you can take your Kleenex and just kind of get that up. And that may have been too much that I picked up, but now you can go back in and kind of, yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so, because you want some of it to be soft, you want some of it to be hard, a sharp edge.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like anything.
Well, that's only because you have a series of disconnected shapes here. So if you, can I borrow that? And you come in here and maybe connect this up in here. Connect that
Okay.
whole thing. Just connect that. And then maybe we'll lift some of this. I mean, because you've got a really interesting shape right there. We'll lift some of this out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all right, because it's just a slightly darker area on the cloud. So we'll kind of, we want some of these shapes to be connected,
Okay.
but we want some of them, you just want softer edges. So you did really good on softening the edges, but then you softened it all the way out to the. So you see how I'm just kind of connecting that,
Right.
but you see how you left this. Like you left that soft and that was good. I kind of added a little more dark, so I need to add maybe a little more water and kind of pick some of that up. Whether it's with the Kleenex or toilet paper or with your brush, just rolling it. See how that's starting to look like a series of clouds. That's a nice cloud shape. What you could do, you have this nice dark, and that's good. Let's just spread it out a little bit, because maybe that's a shadowy area of the cloud. Because that's a really nice shape. These three little shapes are kind of very similar. Pull this down here. Now. Just kind of change those shapes just a little bit, and then this. Now they're still very similar, and then what I do is kind of come in here and lift some of that back out, so this becomes one shape. So there you have nice.
Now it's all joined together. That's right.
Yeah.
Notice that's what was missing.
Yeah, what happens is they get a little disjointed and you're like, well, I just have these little blotchy things and it doesn't look like anything.
Right.
But just by simply just connecting it a little bit, and that may be, I don't know, I kind of like that little blob of light there, but it was so close to the edge of the paper, it's probably not a good place to have it, so we'll just get rid of that. And then, but yeah, so that's, oh. You still got that nice little shadowy area,
Right.
but we kind of get rid of that line.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
That-
yeah, just by connecting those shapes, you end up with this nice cloud shape. And we can further divide it into separate clouds, and we will. Like right now, mine looks like just one big cloud, but the way I'm looking at it, there might be three there
Right, exactly.
or something. So.
Okay.
So yeah, we kind of, and even mine, like I'm thinking, I've got a lot of light coming down all the way to the edge of the paper, but I'm looking at, stepping back from it. I'm thinking I need to darken some of that without, putting a sharp line. I just need to add a little bit of darker against the edge of the paper, because those start pulling your eye off of the page. Yeah, so even mine, I'm gonna go back in and add, kind of connect those up a little bit. I've got a little bit of that same thing going on.
Now, where is that, where it would pull your eye off of it?
So these areas here, where it's really light, that is a way for the viewer to escape your painting, and you don't want that. You want people being trapped there. So same with here and there. So what I'll do, and I can show you that real quick. What I'll do is I'll just come in with a little more paint down in here. And I don't want to get too close to this really nice soft edge that I've got here and here. So I'm just coming in and adding a little bit more paint down here closer to the edge of the paper. So I put that in and I kind of connect those shapes a little bit better. Don't want to mess that up too much because I like that soft edge. But I'm adding a little bit of paint in some of these areas so it's soft and it kind of blurs, but it doesn't blur all the way off the page. Because the trick is, and this sounds diabolical when it's not really, but you want to trap your viewer in your painting. You want them to stay there and look at it and continue to look at it and discover things about it. So that's one of the reasons you want these soft lost edges, because that engages their imagination. So they complete that shape in their head. They see it as a shape, but it's really just a suggestion of a shape. But they get to tell part of the story. And so that makes your painting more interesting because they get to tell part of the story in their head. They don't know that they're doing that, but that's what they're doing.
Scratches
On your paper?
on my paper. I don't know how that.
Let me look at it real quick and
Emily did it while I was.
So there I've kind of fixed that issue a little bit. Where it's still, I've got those nice soft edges, but I can even come in here with a little bit of Kleenex and soften them even more if I want. In a couple spots where I've added. I can even soften, where I've made it darker down in here, I can come in here and soften this edge and pull more of that, some of that dark down in there. Maybe that's where I end up dividing some of these cloud shapes. But I don't want to get too far into that before I'm going to now, I feel like I've got enough kind of to look at this right side up now. Let me just move that over a little bit. There we go. I think we've got enough where we can, I'll wait.
Looks a whole lot different.
Yeah, it does. It does look a lot different. And you'll notice things that maybe you don't like. You'll notice things that maybe you do like. I'm looking at this and I'm not super crazy about this spot on mine right here. But I'm going to leave it alone for now because, well, actually I'm not. I'm going to come in and just soften that little spot. There's a line right here. There's a line right there that I don't like. Yeah. I'm just lifting that little bit of a line out of there. It's still there, but it's not as noticeable up here, but I can see it pretty clearly. But I'm going to leave it alone. And now I want to think about kind of the bottom of the clouds. I want to kind of think about how the bottom of these clouds look. So I know I've got kind of a cloud right here, and this may be actually a couple of clouds there. This one may come down in, looking at this, I've got this one coming kind of down here like this. I feel like a weatherman. I'm trying to point and look at the kind of down in there. Maybe this one's peeking out. That's another one behind there. because I've got this little bit of dark right here. I can accentuate that and make two different clouds. And now I have depth in my painting. Right now it's fairly flat looking, but by doing that, I'll have depth. So I have, so all I'm doing is just kind of looking at this and going, could that be this? Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm crazy about what happened here with this line. I'm going to see if I can't, and if I can't lift it up, it's not a big deal. But you know, this is another cloud over here. So maybe I have like this cloud that kind of comes down like this. And I've got this kind of wacky, I don't know what's going on with that cloud. It's, I'm kind of, you know, I've got kind of one of those streaky clouds like we had over there on yours. So I've got that kind of thing going there. So this is a cloud. Maybe there's another little one that's coming in here somehow. I don't know yet. I haven't gotten to that, but I definitely know that I have this shape here. So I kind of want to, this is kind of solidified in my head that this is kind of a cloud shape here. So I'm not going to worry about the one in the back. I'm going to start here with this one, and I'm going to pick a little bit of, I want a slightly grayer blue. If you don't have a grayer blue, you could use, like I have this, I'll show you, I have this dioxazine violet. Well, that's not a good place to mix it. Let me put it here. So this is a nice violet. I could take this and mix it with a little of my, so I have this nice violet. I can take it and mix it with my peacock blue or cobalt blue, whatever you're using. And then I can grab a little of my dark green, which in my case is Hooker's green, but if you don't have Hooker's green, that's okay. And you can add in a little of that, and you'll notice that I now have a gray. And if it's a little too gray, maybe I want it to be a little brighter blue, you know, or a little more on the blue, I can add more blue, but you can see that I have grayed down that peacock blue just by adding a little violet and a little bit of green. So if you're using cobalt blue, it'd be the same, you know, just grab a little violet and a little green. It doesn't take a lot to do it, just a little bit, but you can see I've got that nice kind of gray. Now it looks more gray. That looks very Payne's gray up on screen. It does not look like that at all down here on my palette. It's more of a kind of a darker peacock blue. If I wanted to, you know, so yeah, you can see it's not quite as
Okay.
dark. Unfortunately, the color on these things is not the, I've noticed, you know, they're great. They're great, you know, it's great to have this projector, but the color is a little off. Even if you look at the computer monitor, it's not quite, it looks a little bit darker than it really is. But but you don't necessarily have to do that. If you have a darker blue, let's say you have maybe Antwerp blue, which is, can you see? Yeah, you can see I have Antwerp blue. That's very similar. I could use Antwerp blue, or even royal blue is going to be nice. Whatever you know, even a little indigo. If you had indigo, that would be very similar. Oh, I put a lot of water in that. What was I thinking? Oh, that's not indigo. That's Maya blue. That's what that is. What is this? Is indigo right here. I also put a lot of water into that. So you know, a little indigo. If you have indigo, that would be a good one to use as well. It's a nice. But if you don't have that dark blue, a really great way to get something similar is to take whatever blue you're using and mix in a little violet and a little Hooker's green or dark green, whatever green you have. Even sap green would work. And you'll get that nice gray. This is the one I mixed right here.
Look at how nice and light it is.
Yeah, I mean, I could make it darker. I could add a little more violet and a little more green. But I am using peacock blue to do it, so it's going to be, it's still going to be fairly light. So, on screen it looks, positively like peacock, or I mean like Payne's gray, but I actually kind of like that. I'm going to use that mix. But like if you have indigo or something, that makes your life a lot easier. Whoa. See, this is where I need it level because I wonder if nah, that's not gonna work. I'll just not worry about it. Ooh. Oh. Problem solved. So what I'm going to do now, I have these kind of fluffy clouds. I need to come in. I need to kind of make a base to these clouds. I need to kind of have in not all clouds do this, but the ones that I'm thinking of kind of have a flat bottom. They kind of look like they have a flat bottom to them. So I'm just going to come in, and you can see how I'm holding my brush. I'm holding it sideways. So I'm just going to hold it, and it, lefty, you'll just work with your other hand. You'll just hold it like this. But I'm going to come in, and I'm going to just kind of, you're going to watch me do this. I'm going to move it without touching the paper first, because I'm just sort of practicing the motion I'm thinking about. But then I'm just going to just kind of come in here, and I'm like, okay, well, I've got this little bit of sweeping where it kind of curves back up, but this is going to be, kind of the bottom of my cloud. And then I'm kind of dry brushing it a little bit. At first, you can see I'm just kind of pulling that in. That can kind of come along like that. If I want, now, obviously, that's a little dark. Even in real life, it's where it's not as dark as that. It's a little dark. So I'll clean my brush out. Now I've got water. This is still wet, even though I was kind of dry brushing it on there. And I can come in here and I can take spots where I pull that back up and soften that again. So it makes it fluffy. And I'm still holding my brush sideways like this.
You still hold an 8?
Yeah, I'm still using my 8. You don't necessarily have to if you don't. You can use a smaller one or a bigger one for that matter. I'm just using this one because that needs a little more color in there. I let that dry just a bit. So I'm holding this sideways, and mostly it's clean. I'm just cleaning my brush out, and then I'm coming in, and I'm like, okay, I want a little bit coming back up like that. I don't want this. This isn't going to stay, that sharp a line. I'm going to come back in and soften that. I like you guys may be wondering why I'm turning around and looking at this, even though the color's not accurate. It's so I can look at the shape from a distance. So this beats standing up and I can look at it from a distance and go, okay, do I like that shape? Do I like what's going on there? I kind of do, and I kind of don't. So I'm going to pull that up, and really I'm just kind of using the side of my brush. I'll clean it out periodically, but you can see I'm adding weight to the bottom of this. Maybe I'll come in with a little bit more. Now I'll change it up a little bit and drop some in with my brush, holding it kind of normal. You can stand on this side, Melanie, if you want.
I'll just walk, Kathy.
No, I mean, if you stood over here by the door, you.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
That's
Wasn't
weird.
being rude. It's
So I'm kind of sculpting this as I go. Now, do I like that perfectly flat? Not really. This may end up, I'm not too worried about that, but I'm just softening this. I'll pull some of it down and then soften it down here. But I've added that dark weight to the bottom of the cloud. Maybe that's a little bit too much that I've got going there. That could end up, oops, that's wadded up toilet paper. You don't want that. So I've added weight to the bottom of that. This is, I think, a little sharp. It needs to kind of come up in here a little bit more. And so what I'll do is I'll soften that with water, and then I can just kind of pull it up with the stroke of my brush. Again, using the side of my brush, and I'm just kind of pulling that up and making a secondary kind of shadowy area up in here where that cloud maybe is billowing down a little bit, but you can see it's nice and soft. Actually, over on the screen, it's a little hard to see that I've done that, which is weird. But there I've got a, yeah, boy, you can't even hardly, I think it's because it's wet and it's got a glare on it. As soon as that dries, it'll show up a little better. And then, so I have this other shape. I want to come back in. I want to kind of make this cloud look like it's sticking out from behind. Now yours may not be the same shape. It may be a slightly different cloud that you see poking from behind, but now I'm kind of going, okay, well, how do I want that? So I'm going to make another sharp edge, but then I also want some lost edges. So I want that edge to be lost. So I have this kind of, I don't like that shape. That was weird. So I'm just kind of coming in with that, that dark gray blue a little bit. And now that one looks like it's actually kind of a green blue, gray green blue, which is kind of interesting. Now that looks like I have that secondary cloud kind of poking, and it looks way darker on screen than up on the screen than it does in person here. But this, at least you can kind of see it. So don't make it quite as dark as what it looks like on screen. Make it about 50% of that, because that's probably what I've got going on. So there, I've got that cloud. And then down in here, maybe it softens again. So it's a little soft right here. But you can see that it does, and I'm not super thrilled with that shape right there. So I want to kind of come up and kind of change that. I didn't notice that until just now that I didn't like that. It's kind of weird. So that I just grabbed a little peacock blue again and fixed that little spot there. And then I don't like this shape either, so I'm just going to soften it. And if you think about it, if you think about these little areas up here, this is just like a little tiny bit of the cloud that's sticking up past another cloud that's in front of it, and the sun is hitting it, so it's super bright. That's what that little spot is. So I'll just add a little dark right there. Yeah, that's working. So now I've made, I've got the base of this larger cloud that's in front. I have a little secondary area that's a little darker, that's in shadow. And then I've made this cloud that's back in here. Now I can see a line forming that I don't like, so I'm going to come back in and soften that. But I've made this secondary cloud that's peeking up behind this cloud in front, all from just that one shape. Do I like that? I don't know, but I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna wait till that dries to deal with it. But yeah, so now I've got that, this cloud that's peeking up out from behind. And it could be the same cloud. It's just, it's rolled over and then it pops back up and, I mean, who knows? Clouds do all sorts of crazy things. So I need to do the same over here. Maybe this cloud is a little higher. So I'm going to come back in with that dark that I mixed. So let me mix a little bit more because I'm kind of almost out of it. Add a little green, a little of this dioxazine violet. Normally I probably wouldn't use that. Normally I'd probably be using quinacridone violet, but this was just a faster, because I like it a little bit better than the dioxazine violet, but are you having trouble?
No, not at all.
I don't believe you. So let me just I'll come back around and help you guys again. So don't.
This is a fright factory over here.
That's okay. That's okay. This, all we're doing here is just playing around and we're practicing. So I'm going to come in. I kind of like this kind of shape where the cloud's coming up this way and up that way. So I kind of feel like maybe this cloud is still going to be, maybe I've got another cloud that's kind of in here somewhere. So I'm gonna come in. I'll go between holding my brush kind of like this and holding it normal and holding it sideways like this. So I kind of go back and forth. Are you yawning over there?
No, I'm sighing.
Oh. I thought I was boring you. Okay, so I'm just kind of pulling that in, and I'm making this up. I mean, that looks a little too dark on screen. It's way darker than it actually is, but that's all right. I don't know that I like that shape so sharp, so I'll come back in, and I could use the toilet paper or Kleenexes again. Or I can just do this with my brush. I think it's going to be a combination of the two, though. And I can pick up a little bit where I maybe put down a little bit too much. I can pick some of that back up, and then I can come back in here and go, okay, I like it, but I didn't like that shape. So we'll just kind of pull that in. Maybe like so. I don't know that I like this cloud just not ending. I don't like how it's just going because it's too much. I want to kind of break it up a little bit. So I'm just going to pull some of this dark down in there, but really softly like that. So you can see I put it in, and then I came back in with a clean brush and I kind of lightened it quite a bit. And then I wipe my brush off and I go back in with a kind of a thirsty brush and I pick some of it back up. So it divides that, but not totally. Let's see. Then I'll come in. Are you having fun at least? Oh. So there's this kind of cloud coming up. I don't necessarily need to decide where my light source is coming from necessarily, but I I'm kind of thinking it's coming from the left side of my paper. I don't know why, it just sort of worked out that way. But so I've got that kind of coming up in there, and then this is going to have a little bit of a bottom to it as well over here. And this can just be, I can just kind of come in and kind of paint these kind of little swoopy shapes with the side of my brush. If it's too much, I can come and lift it back out. I can push my brush, which is kind of hard on it, but it's still, you know, if it's a decent brush, it should be all right. And sometimes you get really cool marks by pushing your brush, and you know, you get those hairs that kind of go backwards a little bit. Let's see, I don't care for, I just don't like this shape that I've created here. So I'm just going to get rid of it by lifting that back out. Luckily, it's still pretty wet, so I can just come back in and lift that up. I don't like that shape at all either. But now I kind of like it. And so I'm just kind of pulling in a little, yeah, this isn't looking terrible. I don't know if it's looking good yet, but it's not looking terrible. Yeah, so that's now, so like now I technically, and this could be, you know, I could stop here and I can come up with something. You know, this could be the finished sky. I could stop here and I'd be happy with this, happy-ish. You know, and I could come in and paint whatever I want in the foreground. Or I can continue, you know, I can push it more into a kind of a stormy kind of thing. But so that's that next step, is kind of coming in with the slightly darker. Oops. Can we? No, it goes this way. Can we think backwards? Okay, well, this is where we ended the class last Thursday. So we will be picking this painting up again this next following Thursday. So stay tuned for that. And I hope everybody has a great week. And I look forward to seeing everybody either virtually or in person on Thursday. Thanks very much, and we'll see you soon. Alrighty.